is Stephanie.
It's Emily.
And today we are back with another book review. I'm very excited for this one, in my opinion. We're going to review Ready Player One. Ernest Cline. I've been trying to say Ready Player Go for like the longest time. I don't know what's going on these days, but we've been reading a lot of virtual reality related books such as Warcross, which is another favorite of ours. So check that video if you are interested in seeing what that book is about. And this one is definitely virtual reality as well. It follows along the story of this whole virtual reality called Oasis, where people, like, you know, kids growing up when after it was established, that's where they get their education from, that's where they hang out, that's where they go have fun, like that's their lives, you know. And it follows the story of a guy called Wade Watts. In the Oasis, his name was Parzival. So it really falls on his character and how there was like this egg hunt by the founder, Holiday, who basically was, after he had passed away, established this, you know, Easter egg hunt kind of thing going on, where people had to find these eggs and whoever won was going to inherit all his money and assets. So once that happened, there was like this flurry of events and people trying to find it. And this story follows along the story of Wade Watts and how he played this into that role.
Yeah. And so it's not really a spoiler, but he basically wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's established already.
Yeah, from the very, very beginning, it's like he wins.
Yeah.
But how did he actually win? Because he's not a typical like rich boy character. He comes completely from what we would call like the futuristic ghettos.
Yeah.
Like, he's like trailer park.
But like the way how you describe it too, like those parks, like piled on top of each other.
Yeah.
I'm just like, please tell me how this is gonna be portrayed. Like, I'm really curious. So then I actually went to watch a trailer.
Oh, for the movie.
And I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. I was like in my head thinking like they're literally on top of each other, and I was like, how about balancing? Like, how does that work?
I mean, there's obvious, like, I think he gave a descriptive enough of like a detail for you to kind of envision the sort of like dystopic setting that the world has kind of come to after like resources started running out, because like the nature of the story was that the Oasis was established sort of as a remedy against all the social and climate problems that were happening in the real world. And a lot of the as you said, the future generation in which Wade Watts is a participant, he doesn't get to see like greens. He doesn't get to like shop like we do. He basically does everything that he can to live in this virtual world, because it's the only world where it's remotely even like ours. Like in the future is really bleak.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And he basically is one of those characters that is really stuck in a rut though, because he doesn't have enough money to do anything. So he
was stuck with his one of his aunt, I think.
Yeah, his aunt, who used him for like basically futuristic food stamps.
Yeah, right.
And he was definitely neglected. He wasn't even planning to go to college because he couldn't.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, he became a gunter, which is kind of the terminology used in the book to discuss people who professionally have become like egg hunter devotees. But there's but these people are kind of like the fan base behind almost like, you know, genuine interest, complete study of everything 80s and holidays, versus the people who are more corporate. So like there's this corporation that is basically the arch enemy of like all gunters or gunter clans. And their main objective is to gain the entire control of the Oasis and basically make it not free.
Right.
Basically basically profit from everything, being able to exclude everyone except for the all uber rich from this world. And you can definitely see, given the nature of the setting, of how dire that could actually be for everyone.
I mean, the Oasis is basically these people's lives, you know, like everyone's like lifestyle. So it's like, if you take that away and give it to the uber rich, then what is everyone else going to be? You know?
So like, given that sort of setting, this is where like Wade Watts, V.A. Parzival, kind of got into the story, and so you're really much in the very beginning rooting for him, because that's just the dynamic of the story. So that's actually something that I really liked about the book. It kind of established that tension like right away, being like, this is kind of what it is. I did feel like in the beginning it kind of dragged though.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. I remember distinctively listening to this audiobook on my way to the airport at one point. I think I was going to Cali to visit my parents. And then, like, the entire ride, I mean, like, this is traffic, by the way, in New York. So it was, like, an hour ride. So the first hour, I swear to God, I was just sitting there, like, almost, like, falling asleep. So it was just so slow. And then, like, the entire trip when I was there, I was like, I'm not going to pick up this book while I'm here. Like, I don't want to touch this. Like, I'll pick this up when I, like, head back to New York. But it was just so, it was dragged. I think it was just, I don't know if it was because the author just overdid it with the world building, or if it was just the pace of the book was just incredibly slow. Like, something was just going on with this book that just made it super, super long. And I was just like, this guy could just cut it short into, like, 10 minutes, but whatever.
I actually didn't mind the slow pace at the beginning, because I think it really does speak to, like, just you feeling out how much the main character had to, like,
I think I didn't need that 45 minutes or hour, because I kind of, you know, blanked out.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you lose
So,
your
like,
quicker.
I was so, like, by the time I got back into the book again, it was a good, like, hour or so later. And then at that point, I was just, like, I was able to pick right up, like, what was going on. So I feel like the beginning, I was kind of just, like, in and out of it, just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, like.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I think the beginning was a lot of, like, basically everything I just said within the last, like, 2 minutes was basically, like, the hour that you were going through. But I think those details, more or less, in the end, do become significant.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what the author could have done, really.
Right.
But yeah, I do feel like maybe he could have interwoven it more, like, made it, like, somewhere else in the story. But overall, though, around, like, chapter, like, I'm pretty sure around chapter, like, 2 or 3, like, it wasn't that far behind. Like, things started to really, like, pick up.
Yeah, once it started picking up, it got going. Like, and the way how the book was written too was kind of written in a future perspective.
Yeah.
Because Wade Watts was like, oh, so this is how it really happened. Let me tell you my accounts.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, in the beginning, you already know, like, straight from the bat, that he won, obviously, and that he was now, like, super rich. And this is his story of how it happened. And then so I think that's when it got really interesting to me, actually learning about, like, how he, you know, encountered all these, like, gates and obstacles and games, and how he, you know, ultimately won at the end. So I that was the best part for me, I think.
I actually really liked the dynamic in this story. I felt like it did teach a very interesting, like, life lesson at the end. Because the nature of the book was that, like, gunters, right? They're always, like, one of their mottos as being a professional gunter is that you do things alone. You always do things alone.
No.
Yeah. Gunters always do things alone.
No, they have clans.
No. That's supposed. He basically was a professional gunter. Who purposely was like real gunters are rogue. That's what he was saying.
Oh, okay.
And
okay,
clans.
So yeah. Okay, that's his perception of real gunters.
Yeah.
Okay,
basically, but that was like the story. The nature of the story was saying like real gunters, like H, like him, like Artemis, all those who actually ended up making the gate on their own. Yeah. Like actually passing through certain obstacles, ended up actually being like the ones being alone. But like near the end of the story,
but at the end they all end up working together. So
yeah, like it ends up. But that's the whole point.
Yeah,
it was the whole point of like, I don't think the entire Easter egg hunt, like not Easter hike, but egg hunt, right?
Yeah, was
ever really meant to be a solitary affair. And I think like that was kind of like how it kind of went through the nature of it. So I don't think anything that we really said are spoilers in general, because like the nature of the book itself, you already know what happened in the end, and it really is a journey that makes this book fantastic versus like actually knowing what happens.
And like honestly, I love all the references with like the 80s theme, because like the whole purpose of the book, the whole game was actually because when they were trying to figure out like all the eggs and whatnot, they kind of went back onto the 80s theme again, because that was Holiday's like favorite decade. And
I think he was born.
So like so because of that, like there's so many references, like media references. I was just like, I loved it, even though like I personally like didn't really like know half the references, but like I like the idea of it. Okay.
That's cute. Like that's cool, because like for me, I guess like I'm not like a huge 80s fan. I wasn't born around it.
Yeah, we're a 90s baby.
Yeah, but I did for a period of time I did watch a lot like the Breakfast Club.
Oh,
I read
yeah,
all. I watched
yeah.
all those movies. Like there was a period in my life where
Yeah,
like,
we watched Breakfast Club
I
together.
just did everything like 80s, and
Yeah.
so like a lot of the references I got. But it's interesting to hear that for someone who like didn't really like engage in that decade so much that you actually still appreciated half
Yeah.
that was really cool.
Yeah, I really appreciate it just because it was kind of interesting to see like, you know, like how especially like all the struggles that he faced while trying to beat these games, and then how he would go back and kind of like, for example, like basically play out an entire movie, you know, like that kind of stuff. I was like, that is so like interesting to me because like the fact that like they did so much research and they really fell in love with this decade to the point that they were actually watching and rewatching all these films, all these games, like playing all these games over and over again. I think that was like really interesting.
Yeah, I definitely would say that's actually a good I guess comparison to their world because like to be honest, the 80s in terms of tech, it wasn't even that interesting.
Yeah.
The 90s and even like what we lived through, I would say even our parents would agree that it's actually 10 times more interesting.
Yeah.
But the fact that like, well, no offense to the author, he might think the 80s are great, but like for these kids, right, to sort of be in the future, like our future, something that we would I would at least, I can speak for myself, I would at least associate they would have cooler stuff, right? Like they have virtual reality, they have all these like things that they could do, like pretty much what we can do with the internet, but more. The fact that they're so devoted to the 80s, beyond just fame and fortune, like to actually know everything in a reference like that, you have to like it, and love it. And so like for me, it kind of spoke to just how bad things were, to the setting. So
I mean, overall, like fantastic book. I don't really, none of us want to give too much spoilers, just because like the movie's coming out too, so like which I'm really excited for it. I'm hoping that we'll go watch it and just be like, this was out.
This is definitely a book for anyone.
Yeah, so we definitely recommend this book, and hopefully you will too. So let us know in the comments below if you enjoyed it or not, or if you're just going to wait for the movie to come out. Let us know as well. We're curious to see what your thoughts are. But that's it.
Yeah, so we also have a Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter, and a podcast where we pick curated book reviews that we've done through the month and put it there.
So yeah, thanks everyone.
All right, thanks everyone.
Bye.